Henri from Dethroned, and you're watching Richard Metal Fans.
Hey, what's up, guys? Bring you guys another episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Henry Sattler from the almighty God Dethroned. How you doing today, man? It's great to finally have you on my show.
Yeah, I'm doing fine, man. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's a good little morning here in the good old US of A. How is it over in the Netherlands?
It's getting winter, but it's all right. Not too cold yet. We had a little bit of snow, but it's about to get winter, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little bit chilly here. It's day before Thanksgiving. I'm just chilling at home for the next few days.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. But it's great to be able to have you in on here. So, kind of the form of the show is I want to talk about like your musical history and sort of do a speed run of your discography, but take you back to young Henry Sattler. So, growing up in the Netherlands, what were like the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to start playing the guitar and be a vocalist?
Well, bands like Slayer, Megadeth, Death, um, basically bands like that, Autopsy, stuff like that. Um, but I was really inspired by Dave Mustaine in the early years, and yeah, so he got me into playing and singing at the same time, and I still enjoy doing that.
Nice. Nice. And for while I was doing my research on the Metal Archives, I believe one of your first bands, if not your first band, was Dysentery. I'm always curious about that. Like, I'm digging deep. Like, nobody ever talks about this stuff.
No, it's very old. It's we only did a demo in I think it was
1990.
no earlier. The,
Oh.
the the dysentery demo was 88 or 89 or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because I only saw like one demo listed, Bad Hangers.
Oh yeah, that could be. Yeah, that was the name. Stupid name. Anyway, but yeah, I think it was 88.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I was trying to like look find it online to like listen to it. I can't find it anywhere.
No, I guess it's not online. No,
Damn.
I still have the tape.
Man, you gotta send me that. I would love to hear it.
Yeah, but you can hear the blueprint of God Dethroned already in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which then leads into going to forming God the Throne, because how'd you get to know like everybody? Because I know the band formed in 91.
No, we formed in 90. It's a misconception that we formed in 91. It was never a problem until a shirt designer gave us the design and it said 91. And since then, a lot of people think we have founded in 91, but it's 90.
Oh wow.
Anyways, I met a guy living not too far away from me, and he could play the drums. And I asked him to join the band, and that's what he did. And basically, we were together for the bigger part in the beginning. On and off, we had another guitar player or another bass player in the band, but they usually didn't stick around very long. So we recorded the demo in 91, the Christian demo. And then we recorded the album, the Christian album in 92 or by the end of 91, I'm not sure, but it was released in 92. And then we had a full lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, but then of course getting signed to your first label was Shark Records. So how did they find Guard the Throne?
I think the guy from the studio had a connection with them. So he sent them, I think, the demo, and then they got back to him saying, "Yeah, okay, we want to sign the band," and that's how it happened. There were
Yeah.
no negotiations; it was just a contract. We signed it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then we recorded the Christland album.
Yeah, which I think is, my opinion, is one of the best debut albums in death metal and very underrated too. Like, not a lot of people talk about this album. So, what was sort of like the whole recording process, being this was like the debut full-length God Dethroned album?
Yeah, it was recorded in the same studio where we did the demo. Um, I think it was a pretty difficult album to make because by then we found out that the drummer wasn't very good. So it was a hard time getting everything recorded. Um, I think the album back then was too extreme and too complicated for a lot of people. Uh, Especially the reviews were not that great because um, I didn't understand it. if you compare the album now to albums that are being made nowadays, it's an album that fits in perfectly. And the guy from the studio always said that we were ahead of our time. You know, I would never say something like that about myself, but this is what he said. And perhaps that's true. Maybe it was we were too much straightforward for what people were used to back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, but I still, in my opinion, I still love it. Like, has some great songs like Necromagnon, the title
Yeah.
track Infernal Sights of a Bloody Dawn, Morbid Rites, even like the band's self-titled track, God the Throne. I feel like every song is like a banger.
Yeah, I like the songs a lot. We re-recorded some songs for when we did the Bloody Blasphemy album. We re-recorded the Christ and God Dethroned, and on you can hear them as a bonus track on the Bloody Blasphemy album. I think it's the song God Dethroned, and or it was the Christ. I'm not sure. And then it was a compilation album where the other song ended up on. And I think I like those versions a lot better because then you can hear how they should have been recorded on the debut album, and I think they're a lot better on those versions. But you know, that's the past. You know, you can't change it.
Yeah.
It is
It's
what it
always
is.
like
What
a
it,
learning experience.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then when the album came out, you just play like locally around like Amsterdam and the Netherlands and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. We played in the Netherlands mostly, and not a lot outside. And yeah, the band didn't last very long back then. It was very hard to keep a lineup steady, so we split up like early '93
Yeah.
until we came back together like somewhere
Yeah.
by the end of '95 to do the Grand Grimoire album.
Yeah, which we'll get to that because I know during that time you also did two bands, Lord of the Stone and Ministry of Terror. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, Lost of the Stone was a project with a singer who was also singing in Dysentery on my first demo. Um, it was like doom metal band. It was inspired by bands like Cathedral, um, Paradise Lost, you know, stuff like that. We did a couple of demos together. Then I left the band, and the band later on did an album. I don't know, 95, 96, or something like that. But I wasn't in the band anymore then. Ministry of Terror was an in between band. After God Throne split up in '93, I joined Ministry of Terror, which had a couple of hardcore dudes in the band from a band called Bring Your Own Beer. And we did the Fall of Life album. I think it was called Fall of Life. And
Yep.
it's a thrash metal album. We did a European tour with Impaled Nazarene. Very strange combination.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it was a lot of fun. And it was on that tour that a lot of people came up to me and said, "Hey, aren't you the guy from God Dethroned?" I said, "Yeah." So why don't you get that band back together? It's a lot better than this, blah blah blah. So basically, that's what happened when I came back home.
Yeah. Yeah. And then leading into the second album, the Grimoire, I probably butchered that, but I like this album because usually with the debut album, you have like your entire life to write and there's off hype with that. And being as this was sort of like about a 5 year gap between that did you wanted to just like pick up where you left off after that, or did you wanted to start with like a clean, fresh slate?
Um, yeah, with a clean, fresh slate, but nevertheless, still sounding like God Dethroned, of course. But my time with Ministry of Terror taught me a lot. You know, those guys were not the best musicians, so I was forced to write songs that were not too difficult to play, so they could play them. And it taught me that I shouldn't make things too difficult. I shouldn't make it too complicated. So I wrote God Dethroned songs that were a little bit more catchy, a little bit easier to play. Although when I look back at it, there's still a lot of quite difficult songs on the album. But anyway, so it was like the old vibe with a new attitude, with a new approach, so to speak.
Yeah, like even the title track, like the Luciferian episode, the somberness of winter. Like I feel like every song captures like a vibe, like how you and everybody in the band was at the time.
Yeah. It's very true.
Yeah. And then we get to probably my favorite God Dethroned album, Bloody Blasphemy. Like how is it like kind of like going from like this to this? It's kind of hard to describe.
It was an easy process because after a Grand Grimoire came out, we did a couple of tours, and then we went straight into the writing mode for Bloody Blasphemy, and this is what came out naturally. It was like it's a different album, but it's I guess in the same vibe, maybe a bit more extreme, a bit faster. Yeah, I guess. I don't know how it happened. It just happened. We came together. We wrote the songs, and it was done. It was written in just a matter of weeks. The whole album.
Yeah. And I love how like the first song Serpent King, I love it. It also has like an audio sample from a Death Wish too. So well, so
Yeah.
how'd you come up to like well, so how'd the idea come to be to put that little like sample in the beginning?
Oh, I thought it was fitting to the song. Nothing else. It was just something. Do you believe in Jesus? Yes, I do. Well, you're gonna meet him, and then he shot the guy. I thought that was a perfect opening for the song Serpent King.
Yeah, just I feel like it's perfect. It just starts the album off with a bang.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what was like the touring cycle like? Did you finally start touring outside of the Netherlands?
Oh yeah, we already started touring outside the Netherlands with Grand Grimoire. Also, actually, with Ministry of Terror, we did European tour.
Yeah.
So we did more European tours with Grand Grimoire. We started doing the big festivals, and it went even bigger with Bloody Blasphemy. Then we also
Wow.
did our first US tour. We did a tour in Japan.
Oh,
We played the
wow.
biggest festivals in Europe. So yeah, that was a great time.
Yeah, like with visiting with all those different countries, like what was like your first impression? Be like, huh, this is different from the Netherlands.
Well, I've been around. I mean, although like as a kid, I went all over Europe with my parents, on holidays and stuff like that. So I knew what it looked like. I mean, but it's nice to go on tour, and it's nice to play shows and meet a lot of metalheads. That was great.
Yeah, and I know you also mentioned like you also did your first US tour. So what's like your also impression of us Americans?
Oh, I loved it, man. I felt very welcome in the US. The audience was great. We toured with Cannibal Corpse. It was a perfect band to tour with. A
Wow.
lot of people every night. We had main support. We were main support, so that was a perfect slot. It was a very, very successful tour for us. And yeah, the States is beautiful. I mean, it's completely different from Europe. That's what makes it so special to us. But yeah, the people were really, really nice, and I really loved the country, and I still do.
Nice. And then next up, we get to Ravenous. I like this album. I feel like it's a great follow-up to Bloody Blasphemy. So what was sort of like the mindset going into Ravenous?
Um, yeah, it was different because the drummer we had for Bloody Blasphemy and Grand Grimoire left after the tour in Japan and the festivals in Europe. He had some private issues that he had to deal with. So unfortunately, he had to leave the band. So we found Tony Laureano, who actually just joined Nile at the time, but he was willing to play on our album. It was really great to have him as a drummer on the album. Um, it's a very fast album. It's perhaps a little bit too fast. It's very extreme,
It's
but
just punishing.
oh yeah,
I
it's
love it.
unbelievable. Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit more underground sounding album actually. But yeah, we were struggling for finding a new drummer at the time. So luckily Tony could help us out. And then we had several drummers playing live shows for us on tour and stuff like that
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and I also love like you did like a part one and two of Autumn Equinox Winter Campaign 2002. So what made you guys decide to do like a part one and two of a song? Because I feel like they both like flow in perfectly.
Yeah, I think one was more like an intro thing, and the other one was a song attached to it. They belong together, but we gave them separate titles because I figured that people would not go through the intro every time they would play the CD, and skip it probably. So it would be better to give it separate names so people could listen to it separately if they wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also love it. Like you also did like some cover songs. You did covered "Evil Dead" by Death and "Consumed by Darkness" by Macabre. And so, what made you guys decide to throw in some cover songs on this album?
Yeah, I think I don't know why we did two. I think um, I'm not sure if the song "Evil Dead" was supposed to be on the album, or maybe as a bonus track for certain countries or a limited edition. I'm not sure, but anyway, Metal Blade decided to put them both on the album. Um, I think it was by accident, or I don't know. I don't remember. Um, and sometimes we used to play the Death song live. People really loved it, of course, because everybody knows the song.
And you
But
did
we
that
made
song justice.
Yeah, well, we decided to play it in our style, so with a blast beat in it, and yeah, I think it's great. People really loved it back in the day.
Hell yeah. And then we get to Into the Lungs of Hell. Love this album. Like, tell me about this one.
Yeah, it was the first time we recorded in Sweden, in the studio in Sweden, in Brno Studios. Uh, the Haunted had recorded there. Amon Amarth had recorded there. So we went there too. Really great studio, great producer, great sounding album. Yeah, for us, it was a big step ahead concerning production and stuff like that.
Yeah. And one thing I found out, like this album was originally was going to be called Gods of Terror, but then the title was changed. I was always curious about that because for that, why would you decide to go with Into the Lungs of Hell?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe Gods of Terror was a working title because we usually always had a working title for the album, for any album that we made. And then we decided, in the later stage what the real album title would be. So I can only assume that Gods of Terror was a working title. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's too long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. And then we get to The Lair of the White Worm. I like this album. It's a quick turnaround from Into the Lungs of Hell, which came out literally like a year later. Like, you started writing for this after Into the Lungs of Hell came out?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it was also recorded in the same studio. It's based on Bram Stoker's final book. Bram Stoker was the guy who did the Dracula, and he also wrote Lair of the White Worm. So the title track is based on that book. It's a more extreme album than Into the Lungs of Hell. I guess we were in a flow, and we did also a lot of touring. So I guess it just came naturally to do the album so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially with like the song, the title track being inspired by of course the novel. Would you say like that song is almost kind of like very conceptually driven?
That song, yes, indeed, yeah, but not the whole album, of course. But that song, yes.
Right. And then The Toxic Touch, another great album. And hard to believe next year will mark the 20-year anniversary of this album. Like, is there a chance maybe we can get a celebration of this? Maybe throw in some like deep cuts?
I don't know. It's the album that stands out from all the other albums. You know, Back then we had a drummer who later on played in Epica and still does, and the same goes for the guitar player. They were very high skilled musicians, and so they wanted to play more. Yeah, how should I say that? More melodic stuff, deeper songs, like more layers and stuff like that. So the album is very easy listening compared to other God Dethroned albums. It's not so extreme. Um, it's very easy listening music almost.
Yeah.
So that makes it stand out. Some people hated it, and some people think it's our best.
Yeah, I personally think it's like in like the I don't know, it's like one of the first albums I've heard, especially working with, of course, Isaac and Ardian, who would later be with Epica. I just think they sort of like bring something different to God the Throne that y'all didn't have like with previous albums prior to this one.
Yeah, exactly. And
Uh,
that's what it makes so special. And Yeah, so I think it's a great album. We still play some songs live from that album from time to time. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so but I think the majority of the God Dethroned fans are more into the older stuff actually.
Yeah. And then we get to Passchendaele. I love this album, like first concept album inspired by World War One. So what's sort of like the inspiration behind this?
Well, it's because Isaac, the guitar player we just talked about, he lived in Yper in Belgium. And Yper was a city on the front line in World War One. So there's a lot of history about World War One in that town. You can still find the trenches there. There's a war museum. There's cemeteries. You name it, it's all there. Um, so I visited him on a regular basis. So I got to see all that stuff, and it inspired me to write an album about it because I'm a history freak. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting stuff. So I dug into World War One, and I wrote that first album about it. Passchendaele is one of my favorite God Dethroned albums, actually.
Yeah. It's probably like for me, like probably top three or top five God Dethroned albums.
Uh huh.
Yeah, and especially with it like it being like a concept album, I'm sure there's also like a lot of like research that goes hand in hand when making Passchendaele.
Yeah, a lot of research. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it's beautifully done.
And yeah, yeah, and as being as this was like a concept album, like for a listener, do you think they should listen with like the Cross of Sacrifice and end with Artifacts of the Great War? Or do you feel like this album could be like approached from like different angles?
Yeah, I think so. Um, the concept is the topic and not the order of the songs. That doesn't matter. You can listen to it from beginning to end or from end to beginning. It doesn't matter.
All right. Yeah, and then the next step, under the sign of the Iron Cross, another quick turnaround round literally came out the next year, 2010. So you started writing for this one right after Passchendaele.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I was in the mood to do a lot of stuff in a very short period of time, and yeah, I think it's a great album. It's probably our most extreme album we ever did. It's the fastest one, the most aggressive one. Um, yeah, I'm very proud of that album too, and it's the second concept album about World War One. And I already noticed that it was a lot harder to do research and to come up with things that I didn't talk about on the first concept album. But nevertheless, I think it's a great album.
Yeah, yes, totally. Like, and then you toured for this for a little bit, and then of course 2012, God the Throne broke up the second time. So how
Yeah.
hard was it to end the band the second time?
Uh, it was hard, but it was my own decision this time. I was super tired. I was exhausted. I guess because I did two albums in such a short time, and I already did that before, with some albums, Toxic Touch and Passchendaele was also not a lot of time in between, I think, or was there?
Yeah, there
No.
was also like Into the Lungs of Hell and Lair of the White Worm. There was like
Yeah,
like another
exactly.
back to back.
Yeah, so and a lot of touring, and yeah, I guess at a certain point I was burned out and decided I needed a rest. But I wasn't sure um, if I should take a rest or break up with the band because if you take like a rest, then people will still bug you for when you will do the next album and the next show. And when you break up, you don't have that problem.
Yeah.
So I decided to quit the band, and of course I regretted it after a couple of years. So we came back together.
Yeah, yeah, but during that time, you also joined up with Winter of Sin and did the album in 2014, Violence Reigns Supreme. So how'd you get to know those guys?
Oh well, I knew Ricardo for a long time. He lives not too far away from me. He's a great guy. They were looking for a drummer and another guitar player and vocalist. And so the God Dethroned drummer at the time and me, we joined them to do the album. We were not supposed to do live shows, but we made one exception to play the Summer Breeze Festival in Germany. I don't remember which year, maybe 2014 or 15.
Yeah. Yeah,
something
and
like that.
yeah. Yeah, and then I think it was might be before the next God Throne album. You also played with Grand Supreme Blood Court. You joined in 2016. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I joined the band for a very short while. We were supposed to do an album with Roger Johansson from Sweden. Um, what was the name of his project again? Because the band we formed with him, that was a project to do that one album. But before we even got to recording it, everybody split up and they formed Grand Supreme Blood Court, and they wanted me to join, and I declined. Not from day one, but I after a little while I said, guys, I don't have the time. I'm too busy to do another band. So I went back to Roger to finish the album with the two of us, and I forgot the name of the project. So stupid. I got it at home, and but the Grand Supreme Blood Court I was not supposed to be in, but they wanted me in, and I guess I said yes in the beginning, and then I decided I couldn't do it. A bit complicated, but that's what it is.
Yeah. And then going back to God Dethroned, 2017, you did The World Ablaze. I like this album. This was around the time when I first discovered you guys. So, what was sort of the making of this album like, being as this was sort of like the second sort of like comeback album?
Yeah. The project was called To the Gallows, by the way. But
Oh,
anyway,
there it is.
back to this. Yeah, this was the first album we did after we came back together. Um, I wrote the album with Mike Ferguson. He was the guitar player at the time. Yeah, I really liked the album. We did also like 3 videos for it. We started touring again. It was the end of the trilogy, the World War I trilogy, because I promised people to make a trilogy, so I had to finish it. And yeah, it was quite a task to get topics to finish another concept album. To write 3 albums about a war where people were sitting in trenches shooting at each other and nothing happened for the rest.
Yeah.
So that was quite difficult, but I
Yeah.
think it turned out great.
Yeah. And of course, with of course these three albums being almost like a trilogy, have you ever thought about like expressing it like through like different media, like maybe like graphic novels or even like short films?
No, that would be impossible. I mean, to pull off something like that, it would be impossible, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course the last got the Throned album, Illuminati. I love this album. One of my personal favorite albums from 2020. I know it was during like the whole pandemic when no bands could tour and stuff. So did that at all like influence like the sound of the album?
No, because the album was recorded in 2019 before the pandemic. It was released in March 2020. No, February, and we were on tour right away. The album came out. We started the European tour a week later, and we managed to stay ahead of the pandemic. And when we came back, I think within a week, the whole continent was in lockdown, and that was the only promotion we could do for the album. And that was a big disappointment because not being able to play live is very bad for a band, bad for promoting an album. So the album did not get the attention it deserved. It was also the final album for Metal Blade. Um, and I guess not a lot happened. And it's a pity because it's one of our best albums, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. And then of course we finally get to the latest God Dethroned album, The Judas Paradox, which is one of my favorite albums from last year. Here, what was sort of like the whole writing and recording process like for the latest album?
Um, it was well. There's a lot. A lot is written by Dave, our lead guitar player. Um, he had a lot of stuff ready. That was so great. It was a pity to throw it away, and it brings a little bit of a new direction to the band because of his songwriting. And well, the other he did like 50% of the album, and I did the other 50%. Like basically, some things came from the bass player as well. But it's a very diverse album. I think it's also a typical God Dethroned album again, but it has like new influences because of Dave.
Yeah. Yeah. And musically, did you wanted to continue in the same vein as Illuminati, or with the Judas Paradox, you wanted to try something different that God Dethroned hasn't done before?
No, we try to stay in the same vein as Illuminati because yeah, I think that was already a little bit of a new direction anyway. So it was good to continue on that road.
Yeah. Yeah. And how would you say like the songwriting process for the Judas Paradox compared to like the previous albums?
The songwriting process, well, it was very individual. Dave wrote his songs, I wrote mine, and there's very little songs that we wrote together, I think. So it was all very personal songwriting stuff. That's why the album is so diverse because um, yeah, because of the individuality that's in the songwriting.
Yeah. Yeah, and would you prefer to like being as there's like all of you all are very individual and like this like songs were written individually. Do you prefer to like all like be like write songs separately and then bring it together there, or do you usually like to just be together there to like create the songs?
I like both. Um, I mean, I wrote together with the bass player, and that makes it easy because I got ideas, he's got ideas. So we put them together and we finish a song very quickly. And when you have to do everything on your own, it takes a little bit more time and effort, I guess. But at the same time, you can just make it the way you want. So both have the pros and cons.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of also pros and cons, like I know you pretty much handled the production up there of this album. Like, is there any like the pros and cons when it comes to like self-producing like Got the Throne?
Yeah, well, when you produce your own band, it makes it very hard because you're never satisfied. And at the same time, you have to make sure you don't lose track of time. So I kept the pressure on just to make sure that the album would be finished at a certain time because before you know it, you'll be working on an album for more than a year. That would damage the whole process. So I managed to not do that. I managed to finish the mix and mastering in a very decent period of time, like within a month or something. And I think the result is pretty good.
Yeah. And what would you?
And
Yeah, yeah, you're saying.
no, I was finished.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry. And what would you say like the overall like themes and messages are for the Judas Paradox?
Well, the main theme is in the title track. It's a story about Judas, and everybody knows the one story that's in the Bible, but there is another story about Judas also in the same Bible. It's just written by a different guy, and in this story, um, Judas was used as a scapegoat, basically, because it was like a premeditated plan to have Jesus assassinated to return as king of the world, and where Judas would betray him. But this was all foreseen, so it makes him a victim instead of a perpetrator. And this is something that not many people knew, including myself, to be honest. So I dug up this whole story and I wrote the lyrics about it. But this is something that came straight out of the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course like this album has now been out for over a year now. So how has like the overall like reception and feedback been for the Judas Paradox?
Oh, the reception has been pretty good, mainly, with a few exceptions here and there, of course. But yeah, that's not the problem. I mean, reception was good, and we did a big European tour with with a number of bands. I can't recall the name, but we did some touring. We're gonna do some more. We're gonna do more festivals next year. Um, so yeah, I can't complain, I guess.
All right. And talking about like the lyrical process, because being as you also so handle like the lot of the lyrics, do you have to like put yourself in like a certain mind frame in order to come up with lyrics, or does the lyrics ever just come like naturally and organically? Because I know like you did like the World War One trilogy, which inspired which has had a lot of research goes in hand. So what's sort of like the lyrical process for God Dethroned?
Well, There is no real process. It's just something that comes up, and I write a song about. You know, it's I try to find topics that suit the music. Strangely enough, I when I listen to a song, I get an image in my head, like a movie or something, and then I know what the subject will be, and then I write the lyrics. That's basically how I work. It may sound very strange, but the music itself um, makes me fantasize about something that could happen in a movie, and that's going to be the topic of the song,
All
and that's
right.
how I work.
Cool. And also as a guitarist, because hearing your guitar playing, it's very fast, very rhythmic, very also technical too. So what's like your also approach to like playing guitar?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I don't think about it too much. I just try to play something that sticks, something that's melodic and worthwhile remembering. And I don't think too much about how technical it is. I just try to make something that's uh, that's just a great riff.
Yeah. And being as you also sing and play guitar, like with having those two different like things that you do you like find a way that like with those singing and playing guitar, you able to express like different sides of you creatively?
I guess that goes automatically. Once I have a riff, we can write songs. Once there is a song, I write the lyrics. I come up with a vocal line, and I just sing it in the studio without playing guitar. As a matter of fact, many times when I record vocals, I don't even know how it goes when I have to play guitar at the same time. Something that I find out afterwards, that everything's recorded. We go to the rehearsal room to rehearse the songs as they are recorded, and then I find out how difficult it is to play guitar and sing at the same time
Well,
because it's usually
yeah.
usually is that's the first time I do both at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
you pretty much led me into the next question, like singing and playing guitar at the same time. Like, how hard is that? Do you ever have to like maybe like change it to like it's easier? Do you try to like stick to how it is on the album is what you do live?
Yeah, I do. What's on the album, I do live, and it's usually not that hard because I guess I feel when I sing, I feel how I have to sing to make it work. Not only to make it fit into the song itself, but also that it fits with the playing of the guitar. I mean, you can do things as complicated as you want, but if it's like working against each other, it's very hard. I mean, there are songs, typically older God Dethroned songs, that are so hard to play and to sing at the same time that it's really a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Do you ever like listen to those songs and be like, man, what have I done?
yeah, I do. I hate to play them, but most of the songs is very easy to play and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
Strangely enough.
Yeah. And talking about like also the live show because I've not seen God the Throne yet, but I will be seeing you in May at Maryland Death Fest. Like, how different of a mind frame is it to like play live versus like recording? Are they like kind of similar? Or are they like completely separate?
Oh, it's different. I mean, playing live is a different vibe because you play in front of an audience, and it's about the energy that you get from them and they get from you, and that makes it special and makes it beautiful because that's the most interesting part of playing in a band to me. And songwriting is fun, but it's also challenging sometimes. And you're creating stuff that you like yourself, and then it's waiting for the response of the people if you did a good job or not, basically.
Right.
So
And of
it's
course,
two different worlds.
yeah, and of course, like another anniversary, an special anniversary I want to talk about because this year does mark 35 years of God Dethroned as a band. Got to think about it, Henry. 35 years of God Dethroned. Like, did you guys think you'd be around for 3.5 decades?
No, this is something you cannot predict when you start a band. And I mean, we split up two times already, in between for just a couple of years. But no, 3.5 decades is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's really you cannot predict something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What would be like a bucket list goal for God the Throne? Like for you personally, like what would be like the one thing for you for being as a band be like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if we did that?
Yeah, people have asked me that many times, and I don't know because we've done so many things already. I don't really have a bucket list anymore, but if you could, I guess if you can play with Iron Maiden, that would be. Because I
Yeah.
love them so much. But I
Your
guess it's a
favorite
pretty
band of all
standard
time
answer.
right here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, it's so crazy because they put like bands that are like half their age or more to shame live young, and I've seen them live like 5 times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be great.
Of course, and of course, like now being, of course, the Judas Paradox is now pretty much a little over a year old now. Have you started working on the next God the Throned album? Like, what's the status with that?
Yeah, not yet, not yet. It's not so easy to come up with new stuff after you've been in a band for so long and after you've done so many albums. I mean, I want to come up with stuff that I haven't done before, so it takes a while. So it takes a little bit longer to recharge the battery to come up with new ideas, basically. So you guys have to wait a little bit longer, I'm afraid.
Yeah, yeah, and you guys have like so many albums out now, especially when putting a set list together, it must be harder with the more albums you release.
Yeah, true. I mean, now we're playing 35th anniversary shows at the moment. So, meaning that we play a little bit more older songs, meaning that we have to leave out a lot of the newer songs. And it's always with pain in the heart, man. I mean, there's so many songs you want to play. But when we did like the main 35th anniversary show, like a couple of weeks ago in our hometown, we played a show that lasted 2 hours, also with the old lineups. They were also present. We played live with them as well. It was 2 hours, and it was still basically not enough because there were still more songs that I wanted to play live. But I mean, after 2 hours, it's more than enough. People get tired. You get me. I get tired. After 2 hours of screaming and yelling in a microphone.
It's like
Yeah. So
like you get you a headache after a while.
yeah. Well, I felt I felt like I could play for 3 hours when I was on stage, but there is a limit to everything, of course. So yeah, we have a lot of great songs, and it's always hard to choose.
Yeah. And so also like in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for God the Throne? Have you got any more tours lined up? Is there a chance you could come to the States for a tour eventually?
I'm not sure yet. First, we have to see if we get visas for Maryland Death Fest. I don't know if you saw what happened in October in Chicago and the festival there, the Metal Threat. I think
Yeah.
50% of the bands did not get a visa.
Yeah, I've heard about that. It was some crazy shit.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we will get a visa for Maryland. We are working on it. We've applied all the paperwork. So we're waiting for an answer. So it's not that we were not in time. We were very much in time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what is it, like May next year?
Yep. We have around
So
Memorial Day.
yeah, so we've applied like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. But I don't know. I don't remember. But we were way ahead of time, and now we have to wait if they grant it or not.
Yeah. Yeah,
So we'll
just
see.
yeah, fingers crossed.
Uh,
But thank you, Henry, for coming on. It's so great to have God Dethroned on the show. It's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
well, thanks for listening to God Dethroned. I hope to see you live. I hope some of you will come to Maryland. Hopefully, we'll manage to do another US tour. Not sure yet, but fingers crossed. And stay metal.
Awesome. So everybody, Henry Sattler from God Dethroned. We'll see you next time.